Howdy champs, my name is Mohit and people. Today I'm going to show you yet another CSS trick, again using pseudo elements people, again using CSS3. Alright, let's straight away begin with the browser preview. It's a CSS3 tooltip, animated tooltip people. Let's preview it up in Firefox this time. Okay, now there's some text which is actually colored red, that is my name, and some more text which is actually the default black, sorry. And when I hover over my name, see the way the tooltip actually extends upwards you know, and smoothly animates, and even the opacity changes from a 0 to a 1. And the name Mohit Manuja is actually a link. When I click on the link people, it opens up yet another parallel window that takes you to my Twitter account. Let me show you the same thing in Chrome. Now why the link actually appears purple is because it has been already visited. It won't be red anymore. Right. See what happens when I do the screencast. The animation is a little choppy. But without this, the recording that is going on right now, the animation is pretty smooth, people. Right, and the best part is this was completely done through the pseudo elements : before and : after. Absolutely no JS file, no JavaScript, no jQuery, nothing at all. But the code is moderate. I wouldn't say it's quite less. I wouldn't say it's very heavy. It's quite a lot, but it's moderate. It's you still have to write quite a lot of code. You see, everything has been inserted in the opening and the closing style tags. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rules to understand. So it'll take me a long time to actually explain each and every, to rewrite each and every rule one by one. So what I'm going to do is, I'll start off by disabling every rule, and then one by one I'll enable the rules and explain them, so you'll get a much better idea. It took me a lot of time to think over it. I don't want to really rewrite everything all over again. Instead, I'll do the explaining as I enable the rules, which I will disable upfront. Okay, so what I'm going to do is in the opening and the closing style tags people, which actually end up out here, I'm going to disable all the 6 rules. So let's first highlight all the different rules in the internal or the embedded rules, like this. And in Dreamweaver we have an option which I can apply a block comment. Okay, now every rule has been disabled. You see, you get this symbol in the beginning and this symbol in the end, and everything inside has been disabled people. If I were to press F12 and take up a browser preview in Google Chrome now, there's absolutely nothing people. There's absolutely nothing. Since this is a link, it has the underline. Okay, yes, it'll open up twitter.com/quality lessons, but there's no tooltip, there's no effect, there's no animation. Okay, let's first understand the HTML. So in the body of the document people, I have 3 line breaks. So just creating a top margin, that's all, a top cushion, 3 blank lines at the top. And then in the opening and the closing H2 element people, I have an anchor tag. Now anchor tags have the target attribute and the href attribute. The href attribute always point to some URL. In this example, it's twitter.com/quality lessons. The target is _blank, which means it will not open up the new link on the same page within itself. It'll be a parallel window adjacent. That's the reason the target has been set to _blank. The title. Now this title is extremely important people. Says follow Mohit Manuja on Twitter. Now this title is grabbed and thrown into the tooltip through the CSS, and that's exactly what we are gonna see in a moment, and we're gonna ponder over it. We're gonna work on it. Okay, and this is some text, right? So that's all that is there to the CSS. And if I hover over people, see the links are always blue, always underlined, but it's not blue because it has been visited. And when I hover over it, you can see follow Mohit Manuja on Twitter. That's a default behavior. Whatever you encapsulate inside the title tag will show up this way always. It's not seriously, you can say it's an inbuilt tooltip by the browser, and you don't have to code it out, just need to use the title tag and it'll actually appear this way, right? But it's pretty small, it's pretty plain simple, and always goes towards the bottom under the actual text, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable rules one by one. So what I'm going to do is, let me enable the first rule. I can do this by actually just displacing the symbol downwards. Now the first rule is actually enabled. Let's see what effect does it actually have on the browser preview. So F12 to bring up the browser. Ideally, you see the text should have turned red. The only reason why it doesn't turn red is because it has been visited. If I open it up in a different browser, let's say maybe Safari, let's try out Safari. Yeah, you can actually see that the text is red now, and it's dotted and not underlined. That's a dotted border, people. See the code. It says border bottom 1px dotted red, and text decoration none. That's gonna remove the underline. So that explains the behavior, isn't it? Righto. Next, people, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this symbol down here, line number 12. So actually enable this rule too. All it says is any anchor tag which has the attribute title should have a position of relative. What I'm actually doing is nothing but pointing to this anchor tag, people, since it has the href attribute. So just creating a selector. To be more specific, this is an attribute selector, and setting the position relative simply because some other elements that are about to follow, or some other selectors that are about to follow, we will make sure that we'll use the property absolute there, so we can position those pseudo elements relative to the anchor tag, right? At this point, if I were to bring up the browser after saving the changes, let's say save, if I bring up, let's say Safari this time, and if I refresh, nothing has changed, simply because the anchor tag with the title attribute has a position of relative. That's not going to change anything at all. Okay, I'm going to move this symbol downwards so that one more rule is actually enabled. Let's save the document up. Let's bring the browser up. Let's refresh at this point. Nothing has happened even now, but we should understand this rule, which is from line 12 to line 22. Okay, anchor tags with the attribute title and colon before, so inserting some pseudo content, people, through the colon before pseudo element. Okay, now and the trick is always to insert some empty string. Usually, again, I'm using the content property, inserting empty content. Then I can actually style that empty content. Now again, if I don't make a lot of sense to you, simply because you do not understand the colon before and colon after rules properly. So I would suggest you understand the pseudo elements and come back to this tutorial. Right. Position absolute. Since the anchor tag was relative, I'm going to place my content relative to this anchor tag with the title attribute, right? That's the reason I'm using the position property, setting it absolute. From the bottom 10px, whatever content I'm about to create should be 10 pixels above the bottom, should have a border width of 14px height wise, 7px width wise. basically you see lines 16, 17 and 18 are responsible for creating a downward facing triangle. Now if you saw, the tooltip had a triangle. Now this is a trick, people. This is a common trick. If you have some content or a division, let's say for example, that doesn't have a width and a height. Obviously the empty content, through the content property I'm actually placing empty strings, doesn't have a width and a height. It's empty, absolutely null, nothing inside. And if I then apply 4 different borders on 4 different sides, but for the 3 sides I keep them transparent, but for the 4th side I actually keep it some color, then it'll actually form a triangle. In fact, if I'm not making much sense, and I'm sure I'm not making much sense to you right now, let me show you something. You see, these 3 lines are an attempt to create a triangle. Let's see how. Temporarily I'm going to make some change to the code. This transparent, let's say, becomes red. This becomes green, and let's say this becomes blue. Let's say not blue, yellow. Okay. Let's change this minus. In fact, let's change this value to, in fact, let's delete the value temporarily and change this opacity to 1. Right. At this point, let me bring up the browser. Now, there we are. There you go, people. This is the empty content with 4 different browsers. This is the color yellow. This is the color green. This is the color red. Notice, deep sky blue, red, green, yellow, going clockwise, people. And these are the different border widths. This has this effect. Let's refresh. This effect. But if I go back, people, and change all these 3 colors back to the way they were, let's set things the way they were. Control Z. And if I save now, for a moment, let's remove this. Okay, and if I bring the browser up, give me a sec, let's save the document, bring the browser up, let's refresh. You see, I just get one triangle. So that's the trick, people. Right, let's say Control Z and save. So you see, from here to here to here, we are actually attempting to create a downward facing triangle. And now let's see what do these 2 properties actually do. Opacity obviously is going to render the opacity 0. Complete transparency, people. That's going to make things invisible. Simple. I don't want the colon before or the content before to actually appear at all at this point, but a little later. And I'm actually throwing it into the orbit by stating that I would want it at minus 9999 px onto the left side by these many pixels. So it's actually off the screen, no matter how big a screen you have. It's into the orbit, people. I've thrown it into the orbit. Right. I've used the transition property here. I'm not using vendor prefixes. You should too. You should do that after checking the browser compatibility. Accordingly, you should do that, but for simplicity's sake, right now I'm not using it. I want my opacity to change over 0.75 seconds, and the bottom property to change over the same time period. And when I've not stated whether it's linear or a swing type of transition, it's always linear. Right. That's I think that's the default too. Okay. Now let's enable the next rule, which is the colon after rule. Okay, so I'm actually pushing my symbol here. that will enable this rule. This rule was the colon before rule. A title, so anchor tags colon before, some pushing some content before the anchor tags, and this is going to push some content after the title tag, after the anchor tag. I'm sorry. What content do I actually want to push after? Before that, people, let me just save the document. Bring the browser up. Let's refresh. Absolutely nothing at all. But let's at least understand what's there in the rule. Content. Through the content property, people, I'm actually picking up the attribute title from the anchor tag. In fact, people, let me just take this out here. Again, I'm disabling the rule simply because I wanted to show you how this rule actually looks. See, if I just delete these two lines or cut these two lines temporarily, bring up the browser, and if I so this is all that I created with the earlier rule, right? And if I enable the next rule, give me a sec, Control Z. Okay, and if I enable the next rule, temporarily let me remove these two lines so I can show you what the colon after rule actually does. Control X to cut, F12, bring the browser up. There you go. So if the the rule earlier was actually getting you that triangular structure, the next rule is actually getting you this tooltip. Let me delete let me cut this 2 temporarily. Control X, F12. So this is happening because of colon before, this is colon after rules that have been applied to anchors with titles as attributes inside. Okay, let me just reset certain things the way they were. Okay, simply because they've been thrown in the orbit and have an opacity of 0, that is the reason you actually can't see the content before and after, people. So let's study this rule again now. Through the content property and through the attribute, I'm actually picking up the title. What this does is it's gonna pick up the title from here, this much, and that's going to be pushed inside the content. So that is going to be the textual content, people. Next is going to give it the title, the color white. I'm using the font shorten property, making it bold, 16px, Arial, sans serif. Right, that's the font shorten property syntax. Right. Background deep sky blue, just the way we it's very similar to the way Twitter uses. Padding, yes, if there's some textual text, if there's some text, then there should be some padding too. Again, it's absolute, people, simply because the anchor tag upfront was actually relative. So how are you going to move your content around? Simply by keeping this absolute. Again, left and opacity is 0. Left property, opacity property, they are responsible for this is responsible for throwing the text into the orbit. This is making it invisible. Bottom 38, and that's actually placing the colon after content 38 pixels from the bottom upwards. White space, no wrap, so your text is not going to wrap. White space is a property, people. Border radius is going to apply some rounded corners. 8px is the value, standard value, people. And again, I would want the opacity and the bottom to shift over 0.7 seconds, or to change or to the transition should be slightly less than a second. Here 2 we saw that, and here 2 we saw that. Same values here and here. So these were the colon before, colon after rules, people. They're not being visible simply because I'm using the left property and the opacity property. If I remove it from here as well as here and then I take up a preview in the browser. This is colon before, this is colon after. Through the bottom properties, I'm actually placing them where I'm actually placing them. Righto. Let's say Control Z to go back. Right. Now let's shift this symbol down out here. That's going to enable this rule too. This rule says when somebody hovers over the anchor tag, make certain changes to the content before. So whatever content, this content, colon before content, or the pseudo element that was created out here, make some changes to that. What kind of changes? In the hover state, the left should shift, the opacity should change, the bottom should change. Okay, so left, if you remember, people, was left was minus 9999. It should change to 35px. Opacity should change from 0 to 1, and bottom should shift from, let's just check, was at 10, should change to 30. Basically it's going to come up. At this point, if I take up a browser preview, people, and if I hover, see what happens. The triangle goes up. That's all. And if I were to enable the next rule too, which is also the last rule, so what I can do is I can simply select this chunk and remove the comment. That's going to enable the last rule too. At this point, if I get the browser up, this is going to be the final product, people, the final browser preview, the end product. So see what's happening. The left is changing, the opacity is changing, and the bottom is changing. The bottom is changing, is going to 58px from the bottom from 30px, so a shift of 28px. That's the first change. Opacity from 0 to 1, basically from complete transparency to complete opacity. And left is changing from minus 9999, okay, from the orbit it's coming inside, to 25px. Right now, the calculations are extremely important, people. If you are using different font sizes, you will need different paddings. For example, maybe not using bold, maybe not using 16px, maybe not using Arial or sans serif. You'll have to adjust your formulas completely. I've had to do a lot of mathematical calculations to go absolutely right. Okay, I know probably this tutorial is not suffice. Maybe I've not pushed the idea through properly. You'll need to maybe see my tutorial a couple of times, maybe ponder over the code, spend some time, experiment a little bit, people, and I'm sure you'll be able to grab it in the end. So people, I hope you found this information useful. I'm going to do something. I'm going to push all the code into codepen.io. It's an online editor. I'm going to get a URL. That URL I'm going to leave in the description, so that you can actually check the code. You can download the code if you want. You can go over the code. You might need to spend some time thinking, pondering, before you can actually grasp exactly what I've done out here. But still, I hope I've made a decent attempt at explaining this effect. I hope you like this pure CSS3 tool tip, and I hope you'll sub. I hope you'll thumb the video up, and I'll also hope that it'll keep coming back for more and more tutorials from me. You have a good day. Bye bye. Peace.